This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today's guests are Denayer and Carlos, the co-founder of Direct BookMe, a platform born out of their frustration with high booking fees on popular short-term rental sites. As frequent travelers themselves, they knew there had to be a better, more direct way for guests to book stays and for hosts to keep more of what they earn. What started as a tedious hunt for free alternatives turned into a mission to simplify direct bookings and empower hosts to earn 100% of their rental income. No commissions, no hidden fees. In this episode, we'll dive into how Direct BookMe is creating a new kind of travel community, one that connects hosts and guests more transparently, saves everyone money, and ultimately helps people travel more, not less. Welcome to the show, guys. It's so good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I love this. Two of you guys on, and I want to dig right in. So, talk to us. For those who don't know yet, I want you guys to share a little bit about your background and how you guys both came together to start Direct BookMe.
Go ahead.
Sure. So, we're travelers. We've traveled all over the world. We like to stay in short-term rentals just because the experience is better. We're kind of savvy. I want to consider us savvy travelers and somewhat tech savvy. So we would always try to find ways to book directly with the host. Because in the beginning, Airbnb and Vrbo, they were fine. But as time went on, the fees just started getting more expensive. And then we realized we can direct book with these guys. Let's figure that out. So we would still use those platforms to find a place to stay based on where we were going, and then we would find one. We would try to find it on Google because the hosts were also getting a little creative with trying to book directly with people as well.
Yeah.
So they would put unique titles in their as their title of their property, or we would use pictures. We would screenshot that picture and then try to do a Google search of that image to see if that host happened to have their own website. Same way we would just Google the name of the property, thinking maybe it would pop up as a website where we can book directly. It was a lot of very tedious and time consuming trying to do that. And then a lot of times it would just come down to be like, okay, just fine, whatever, we'll just book because we have to book something where our trip is coming up. So a lot of times every once in a while we did find a few that we could do it that way. But most times we just ended up having to use that platform anyway. So we just, out of frustration, like one of our recent trips that kind of started this whole thing, we were just complaining about how there is not a place for people who want to direct book. There's a whole market for hosts who want to book directly, but there's nowhere for them to really advertise their properties. And when they're trying to do it themselves, it is more expensive and it is time consuming for them. And you see a lot of cute properties on Instagram and social media, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll save that for the next time I'm planning to go to that state. But when you're in the middle of okay, we're going to Arizona, we need a place here because we already know where we're going. Yeah, that's when it was become more difficult. So we just came on why don't we just create our own website? So how I was thinking the website would work. I'm in healthcare. We're both in healthcare, actually. I'm a psychiatric provider. So one of the platforms that we use for our practices to advertise, there's a website. We just pay a monthly subscription fee to it. And when a patient needs a psychiatrist or a therapist, they can go to that website, put in their zip code, what type of insurance they have, what symptoms need to be treated, and those practices would come up. And the patient would then say, okay, I want to contact this practice and kind of go from there. And then the practice takes over. That website does nothing else. They are just a marketing platform. So I kind of dawned on me, I'm like, why can't we take that same concept and put it to short-term rentals? So that's kind of how we are. Here we are. 2 years later, here we are.
You know what? You guys just unconsciously took from another industry, which is what us as marketers always like to say, borrow from other industries, because if you are focusing only on paying attention what your direct competitors are doing, you're never going to win. right?
Right.
Correct.
So this is just fascinating out the door, and like a real call to action to other founders and folks that are looking to launch, or folks that who have already launched their businesses, is that really take a pulse on like what is happening around you from other industries, whether it's a platform, whether it's an idea, whether it's like a marketing push. It's super important because like you just took a user experience journey and you manifested that into travel, right? Which is a completely different set of a way of purchasing and behavior, but it still has a through line. So kudos to you guys for doing that, because it's something that we always like to say as marketers is just focus on what else is out there and not just streamline into one direction in one lane.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the pushing point was really just frustration of being able to find these homes and really be able to book outside of like all of these like details and like these big box brands. And you are right. I mean, a lot of the times homeowners who are listing, they want these platforms to help them, to bring them up, to really do the marketing piece for them, when in actual essence sometimes there is a lot of big competition around that. So let's put a pin on that, because I want to come back to the competition within these platforms and like some of the unknowns within VRBO and Airbnb. But before we do that, as travelers and hosts, what were your biggest frustrations you kept running into with Airbnb and VRBO? Or
Well,
any other platforms for that matter? I don't want to keep picking on them, but they're the
Those are the main
giants.
ones.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
because everyone knows. I guess the biggest for us will probably be the transparency. It almost felt like you couldn't get clear answers, and it was just always their way.
Yeah.
If you didn't follow suit with the platform, there was no other way of thinking outside the box, right?
Yeah.
And no vacation is cookie cutter, right? Everyone is looking for different experiences. And even though the model does work, but it's very limiting. So
Yeah. So, and the digging in further then from some of the stuff like hidden costs, that host and guests just sometimes overlook. I mean, what are some of the other things that are within the fine print that hosts don't even realize until after the fact, or even now that you guys have done the amount of research that you've done to set up Direct BookMe? What are some of the things that are just unknown to some of these hosts?
I think one of the main one is they lose some of the autonomy of running their own business.
Yeah.
Those platforms, they're booking platforms, so which means they have their own liability. So I kind of can understand why they want to control certain things. But one of the biggest frustrations that I hear from a lot of hosts is that those platforms are more targeted to keeping the guests happy. So like a perfect example would be one of the main ones that we hear a lot is the cancellation fees or the cancellation policy. So the host will set their cancellation policy to, whatever it is, and they get that right to do it. It's their business. They should have their cancellation policy of whatever they want it to be.
Yeah.
But then for whatever reason, the guest needs to cancel and say when they booked, it was a non-refundable stay. They would ask the host, can I have, I need to cancel this. Can I get refunded? And they're like, sorry, my policy is no refunds after a certain amount of time or whatever. Well, then they would go to complain to Airbnb, and then Airbnb turns around and gives them their refund, or they find some loophole to get the refund, which they're running a business as well. And that guest, they blocked their calendar. So that host is expecting that income. So they can't just, oh, here's your refund, and now they can't get it booked.
Yeah.
I know a lot of hosts will try to say, well, we'll refund you whatever days we can get booked, which I find that's a good compromise. I mean, I agree with that. I would be fine with that if I were a guest and needed to cancel. I'd be like, okay, great. That's great. Whatever you can rebook, then refund me those nights. The guests still don't want that. They still want the full refund. So that's one of the main frustrations is they lose that autonomy. And there's other situations too, but that's one of the main ones that we hear. But they lose autonomy of running their own business.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Carlos?
Yeah, and it's a two-way street, so you can't be one-sided. This is with host and guest, driving in the same car.
Yeah.
So you have to share that vehicle, and you can't be one-sided. And that's, part of the transparency and kind of why we one of the reasons why we started Direct BookMe, just so that both can coincide. It doesn't, you don't have to be one way versus the other.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because I mean, you guys right now are building your platform and you guys are attracting hosts, right? Without hosts, you don't have guests. Without guests, you don't have hosts. So it
Exactly.
is a 50-50 kind of two-way, like let's work with each other in parallel. And you cannot side and make, one side happier than the other because in the end of the day, you're going to lose somebody. So what is the best solution for everybody, right? And I do agree with you. It shouldn't be just 100% focused on the happiness of the guests versus, the hosts and so on. And so I think that's why this platform that you guys are building is like super critical because it's almost like, when hosts and guests run into that situation, like they're kind of left to negotiate and like deal with that with themselves, which I think is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you find any resistance when trying to book direct with some of these guys? I mean, off the platform. I mean, maybe some of the ones that, maybe necessarily didn't have a website or they had a website. Because let's get into the nuances of this. I mean, as a host, having to set up your website, having to have a system on the back end to really, a plug and play of like booking direct, connecting to your bank account, having your own insurance, like all that kind of stuff. What did you feel that was, more or less some of the resistance that came up if any of the times that you had that or maybe in some of the conversations that you're having that is a scare factor for some folks to just say to heck with it, I'm going to list on Airbnb and VRBO because there's no other option.
Yeah,
There's a couple. Most of them were saying yes, we would like to do that, but they didn't know what to do. A lot of them
The lack of education.
Yeah,
it's
they
not
didn't
knowing.
know because they would
Lack of
prefer-
support, to your point.
Yeah, so they would like to. It's just they didn't. Some of the ones they didn't know what to do. They're like, well, I don't even know how to collect payment. Like something as simple, you can take a Venmo payment. It doesn't have to be, an official. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Collecting payment, they don't even on our website. They don't necessarily have to have their own website because their profile will be on our website. But some of them do. That's fine. They have their own booking. They do their own SEO and their own advertising as well. But for the most part, no. Many of them they want to. They don't know how. We've been going to conferences too, like trade shows and conferences that are targeted to hosts to educate them on here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do it, and then here's what you can do to stand out. Like a little bit of education, how to, as far as photos, stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of people they want to do. There's a handful who are like, no, I'll just let them do it. They handle everything. We don't want to worry about doing it. Which is fine. It's not a big deal. Everybody's a little different. And one of the other ones we get a lot of question is the insurance, because those other platforms they do cover, if the guest damages the home or anything. But we don't have that now, but we would like to partner. We've been kind of researching a couple of different insurance companies, but to be able to offer, how like when you check into a hotel, you have to put a deposit down kind of a thing. And then once everything is good, they'll release those funds, something like that.
Yeah.
But as far as insurance goes, like if they damage the house, their whatever homeowner's insurance or their short-term property rental insurance, they would have to be covered. That
should be able to take care of it.
Yep.
You're right. I mean, it's the lack of education and support, I think, from even starting to become a host, I think is not there. Yeah, it really is overwhelming.
Well, I think it's on the thought process behind, that the host has to, have those gears turning, like, and Airbnb doesn't let you do this, is that you are a business owner. You have to have that mentality. And once you get on that train of thought, your own business requires X, Y, Z. So that's where Airbnb is lacking. They don't let them go that route, so they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in and we assist, but at the end of the day, you're in control.
Yeah. It's almost like, you need like a host packet. Thinking about starting to be to want to be a host, like here's the
checklist of
the checklist, like the downloadable of like the 101s, that you need to know, because it is a scary world to navigate. And sometimes in this instance, you don't want to learn through trial and error.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. When you guys are at some of these conferences, do you feel that a lot of the tone there is kind of gearing up and supporting people to like put their Their listings on Airbnb or any other big box brands, or are they encouraging people to start on their own?
They're normally geared for people to direct book. Like that's the primary goal of, I mean, there's some also that are how to manage and like how to make your Airbnb listing look better. There are some that are like that too, but the majority of them are geared for people who want to direct book, and all the things that they like in these conferences. A lot of everything that's there, like the vendors who are there, are people supporting the people who want to, the hosts who want to book directly.
Yeah, they're geared for you to go off on your own, and you just have to be able to see it for yourself.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So there's a big industry for the direct BookMe or the direct booking movement.
Yeah, I mean, I think out the gate, these platforms had good intention, but then, as they grow, it is like it's a different kind of a focus, and it takes away from what the original mission probably was when they first started, which is a shame. But a lot of these companies, once they grow big and they go large, they kind of forget about who has actually supported them to get to where they've gotten to, and it's really the hosts.
Yeah, well, Airbnb started off as just, I have an extra room to rent. And then then the hosts who have vacation homes were like, oh, here's a new platform, we could check it out. So that was kind of like, I want to say maybe an accidental find. And of course, they're not going to turn away because that is a marketing platform for them, but it's not the best one for them. It's kind of what's available now, so they're going to use it. And right now that, yes, Airbnb and Vrbo booking, those are all the big ones, but they're not, I don't feel that they're designed for hosts who want to run their own business and just direct book with their guests.
Yeah. You're right. It did start on this like wave of like couch surfing phenomenon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It was like, oh, just like rent your couch out to somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, when you guys were sort of like, flirting with the idea of starting Direct BookMe, I mean, were some of these conversations that you had with, like, were you guys actually doing like some of the research when you were booking some of your like short-term rentals for vacation and kind of saying like, hey, what are your frustrations? Like if you had a platform, like how did you kind of, I guess, get early intake from, what was happening in the ecosphere of, like the frustrations? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so we actually wanted to be hosts. That's, we travel so much. We've stayed at any kind of accommodation you can think of. From hostels to hotel, chains, yurts, glamping, whatever. So we're like, okay, let's become investors, right? And get a property and rent it out and join the fun. But then as we were researching and
educating ourselves,
and looking and everything, we kind of started noticing a lot of the frustrations on social media. From all these hosts, that have skin in the game and been in it for a while, and we're like, wait a minute, and then that's when with the healthcare background, as she was saying,
like the wheels started
spinning, and like,
so we got the experience as the guests, we got a little bit of experience from hosts, and that's when we're like, there's got to be something different.
And then just from the past experiences of not being able to book direct, not being an option for either guest or host, no one not even knowing which way to go, no central hub, no location for it.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, let's disrupt this. Let's see.
So we decided we're not going to invest in being a host anymore. So we're like, we're just going to invest in this business instead. And that way we have all the hosts on our side.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have the option of any of them. So
exactly. It's like you were like, let me just disrupt the whole entire system and like create a better platform for everybody.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, most businesses are born out of frustration anyway. So that's really cool. So let's dive a little bit into the platform. The ease and the simplicity, obviously I've taken a spin myself just to kind of take a look, in terms of how it works, and so on and so forth. But let's dig into it. How does it work? How is it different from other major platforms and some of the indirect competitors that you have out there currently?
So it's free right now for hosts to sign up. They just go in, create their account. We don't even ask for a credit card at this point. Our goal right now is to increase the number of properties so that when we start advertising to guests, we have a pretty good inventory. But right now, the host will go in, they create their account, they list.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but what you're essentially doing is you're building a community right now for hosts to kind of really dictate to you what they want,
right?
Which a lot of people don't start off the bat, right? So it's it's really built for hosts by hosts.
Yeah, we want them to grow with us. We want to grow together,
and we want to hear their feedback too. So
yep.
I have a couple of conversations with current hosts right now. They're giving us some feedback because they have their properties listed. So I'm like, that's great. Let me check with the design team and, make some little changes that they're requesting. Yeah. But it's pretty simple. Like, it's very simple for them just to go in, you upload your pictures, your description, set your price, and that's about it. When we start targeting guests to go to the website so that they're aware of it, and that'll be the same. That'll be the same type of setup of how all the other platforms are, where you want to go, how many people are you traveling with, and then the list will come up. Yeah, the list will come up, the map will come up, whatever view you prefer. And when you find one that you want to book, you just click book, send the booking request, and then the request will go directly to the host, and then they take it from there.
Yeah.
So it's simple.
It's super simple and straightforward. But when somebody actually, when the beta phase is gone and the community is built, and like everybody kind of feels like, okay, we're in a good place, it's comfortable. We like how everything's going. The host feels good about it. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the point of the charge part, what does that look like for the host, and what does that look like for you? I mean, it's essentially like, how do you guys make money at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the hosts ask us that.
That's
always a question.
Yeah.
So the reason it's free right now is because we are telling the host, listen, we are going to do your marketing for you. So that's a service that basically we're providing. But we aren't doing that just yet because we don't have enough inventory. So we don't feel right taking money yet while we're building this community and our inventory. But as time goes on, what will happen there? It'll be broken down into tiers. It'll be subscription based. The first tier will be just $10 a month. And then anytime you get a booking request, it'll be a $15 charge. As time goes on, the website gets more popular and more guests are coming to the website. The host will have the option to flip their subscription to just a flat fee, $40 a month flat fee, regardless of how many booking requests that they get. So that money that we're going to be collecting will be kind of like crowdfunding, kind of think of it that way. So we take a little bit of money from the host, mm-hmm. and then we have a large pot so that we can advertise the website to the extent like how Airbnb and Verbal and Booking, how they all advertise. I know that's a lot of money, but we're looking big here. So we're looking to reach that status.
Always a good
that's
thing.
Essentially what the subscription monthly fee will be paying for is to be paying for the advertising fee that we have to pay as a website to get the website out there.
Yeah. I mean, out the gate, you guys have also made a bold decision not to take commissions from the host. I mean, talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that's a big one. And I think that would be a tipping point for a lot of people to basically start listing once the floodgates open with guests.
So that came from just basically no one knowing who we are. Where no one knows us. We have nothing, backing us. Not even word of mouth.
We're new.
So we're new on the street, right? So, we have to incentivize, I guess, people to even come take a look. Besides offering good service, we're also not charging anyone because we'll try us out.
Yeah.
We'll never charge a commission fee.
I know you guys will.
Like the other ones, they charge a commission fee based on, it's like a percentage based on the amount of the overall booking. So, and that fee can be expensive. It's either, and every platform is a little different. Some of it gets charged to the guest, some of it gets charged to the host. And they split it however they want to split. There's just there are variations, but overall that is an expensive fee for both sides. So we're not charging guests. This will be free for guests to use.
Yeah.
No commissions to the host because we are a marketing platform. We're not a booking platform. Correct. So that's a little bit of the difference. We are just marketing. So we're just taking that monthly subscription that you're paying to market the website, to bring people in so that your, the host property is visible in front of the guests who they need it in front of.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the host can basically charge for certain things, like what they're already doing on like
Mhm.
Airbnb, like the cleaning fee and like
Mhm.
so on and so forth and all that kind of stuff, which is probably going to be similar just based on host to host.
Right.
Or they
Yeah.
may already just bake that price in,
Mhm.
so that it's like covered and you don't have all these extra like different
Yeah.
charges.
You don't
Right.
have to upcharge, the guest every time just to make up for that difference.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you might break out even, but you're not losing either.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So let's talk a little bit about trust and safety because I know that this question will potentially probably come out, but without acting as the middleman, like Airbnb does, like what is that? What was your thought process as it relates to sort of the trust and safety between the host and the guest, and how are you going to mitigate those conversations for them? Or
We're
maybe
paying.
it's up to you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's not going to be a free for all.
we want to make sure there is safety checkpoints kind of along the way. One of them will be, we haven't implemented it yet because the way that it's a third party booking or a third party platform that's going to be doing uh, the third party identification verification
Like background
process.
check style?
Yeah, like layouts. They put in their
Yeah.
information, they scan their ID, like it's all third parties, and they have to take a selfie. Like there's all these different steps. But in order to do that, we have to have a certain amount of subscriptions, and it's a monthly, like a minimum monthly fee. And I'm like, wow, we're not even there yet. So
Yeah, yeah.
right now, yeah, there isn't anything on the platform right now. But that is a top concern. That will be one of the first things we do implement once we start getting more revenue flow. But it will be checking, every person that signs up will be going through a third party identification verification process. And then that's for that, so that both parties can trust that who they are is who they are.
Yeah.
Who they say they are
Or that
is
they
who
actually
are.
have a house.
Right.
Yeah.
So then then we're going to be doing property verification as well.
Okay.
So that'll be another process and right now it's optional for the host to do it. But eventually as time goes on, we'll make it mandatory.
Mandatory.
And so there's different ways they can either show us a video, because similar to how Google Business,
My Business,
if you're familiar with that, how Google Business does to verify that this business is an existing business, you have to show like the street and you unlocking the door and just a few things to verify that this is your property, that you own it.
Yeah.
Will verify their ID and the property, like the address, like through a tax ID or like a tax form or some sort of documentation that says that this is their property, that they're allowed to, they own it. And then and not right now, like I said, it's optional. So the hosts who do those steps, there's a badge that'll be next to their property name that says this property has been verified. So to give that host or to give that guest reassurance, like, oh, they verified this property, so this is legit. If they don't have that little badge that says this property has been verified, the guest will also know that. Be like, well, this one wasn't verified. I'm going to take that risk. They may or may not.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, this would be, I don't know how far, but eventually we do want to make that a mandatory thing so that we can say 100% of our properties are verified. But right now it's not feasible.
Yeah, because nobody wants to show up to a vacation and then all of a sudden pull up to an empty lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Or to somebody's home who people live there.
Yeah. Who actually isn't renting out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's your vision for the host traveler community, in the sense of how are you building trust, connection, and growth? And this goes back to, how you guys are starting to build this community and the concept of like, it's a platform built for host by host. I mean, these guys are literally supporting to help you guys build this platform and everything that they have ever wished and dreamed and desired and had a list for. But talk to us a little bit about that community and the build of trust and some of the feedback that you've gotten from, early onsetters of host listings.
Well, I think the trust issue, trust takes time, but from the beginning, just be clear and just lean on the truth and being clear. What's been helping us so far with the hosts that we have met with is that they are frustrated with Airbnb. So that right there is the icebreaker. Yeah. And that alone creates,
which is almost immediate. And it's almost all the time you hear that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we can't make, I can't guarantee anything, right? Nothing is guaranteed, but just lean on the truth and provide good service from the get-go.
Yeah, we're transparent. We just recently started doing weekly webinars, like a lunch and learn kind of a thing, where we're inviting hosts to come in. Listen, you can meet us. We're real people. We're not some big corporate conglomerate. We're just normal people. We're bootstrapping this ourselves. We're very transparent. Ask us whatever questions you have. Let us know your concerns. And at that same time, they're on with each other as well, so they kind of get feedback from each other as well.
Yeah. It's very cool. I love this concept of things being born in parallel with communities, and really supporting what people are frustrated about, and really building a platform that functions and works for your end user at the end of the day. Has there been a story then from any of the webinars that you guys have had so far that has really stuck with you? And maybe it's not just like a story, but maybe it's like a comment or anything that, some of these like early onsetters have been discussing.
Yeah, there's one I remember that stuck out to me at least. And it's super simple. All he said is, "We're rooting for you guys."
Yes, we want this to work.
Yeah, that phrase alone is like, oh my God, someone besides us and our family actually wants this. Right?
Like that just keeps us driven and motivated, because when we hear that feedback, and even like those are our hosts that we've connected with on our webinar. Even when we go to conferences and connect with hosts, they're all like, "This is great. We really want this to work."
So
that's amazing. I mean, especially from like such an early onset, to be able to get feedback like that, and people really are like rooting for you,
Yeah, it's reassuring for sure.
Totally. I mean, you're getting real-time research and feedback off the bat. What does it truly mean to empower hosts today to you guys?
Empower hosts. Well, it's their business. They dreamt, just like how we kind of dreamt this up, that this is our vision. They dreamt up the idea of, I have this property, or some people have built their own property, like they have extra space on their land, and they decided, I want to be a host. And they're passionate about it. They spend a lot of time and money and energy and researching to figure out to be a host, to be like, they create these cute little spaces and services and just guest experiences. So we want to empower them. This is their business. This is their livelihood. This is their business. This is their baby. This is their dream. It's not, it doesn't belong to one of those big box platforms. It's not theirs. They're only using those platforms because they don't have another outlet.
Yeah.
So this is their that's their baby. We just want them to have a place to put their baby.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, it is, those are the best companies, when you empower somebody, when you educate them, when you really kind of give them a platform to thrive and shine, and really, get to that end result and that goal of like what they've really wanted to accomplish. Yes. How has the traveler behavior shifted in 2025, and how does Direct BookMe align with that shift?
Well, obviously, one of the big topics you always hear is the economy, right?
Yeah.
Groceries, gas, all these things. Well, I mean, for guests, for the traveler, we're saving you guys money. In the sense of we're free just to even go onto the website and to book. We're not charging you guys anything. So that alone, someone who wants to take a vacation, who's saved up, all year to do this can help them even enjoy their vacation more with their loved ones. On top of the unique experiences that the short-term rental already provides. Now you get to keep some money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And the way people travel has shifted, especially since COVID.
Oh yeah.
People they're not looking for just, oh, I'm going to stay in this hotel and go see sightseeing. People want experiences. So hosts offer that experience, like a cultural experience, or just
especially in a new country.
So it's just more of an experience, and a lot of them are traveling with families. More people are traveling with their kids. So being cramped up in a hotel, like Airbnb did right with that commercial. Being cramped up in a hotel versus staying in a short-term rental. So they just find that is more feasible. And a lot of nomad workers, like the digital nomads, they travel and they work from home. So they can literally, as long as they have internet service, they can work from anywhere.
Anywhere.
So
Yeah.
I think a lot of the younger generation, they take advantage of that, being able to work from home and work from anywhere so that they can travel but still work.
Yeah.
So they
those
prefer to stay in like short-term rentals too.
yeah, those being, those days of being in the office 5 days a week. I mean,
Yeah.
they're slowly, hopefully, going away, little by little.
Yeah. For some industries, I
For
mean,
some,
yes.
yeah, for some. I
I
mean,
don't want my
with
surgeon working from home.
yeah, totally. I mean, unless they can start performing through the Zoom, which I hope to God
Yeah.
that never
Control
happens.
the robot from their Zoom.
Yeah. It's like AI will now be performing your surgery, Sasha. It's like, oh, okay. Or like the AI robot gets dropped off at your house and the surgeon is sitting at home drinking their coffee. No thanks.
No, pass on that.
No. What advice would you give an Airbnb host who's nervous about leaving Airbnb and VRBO? And like, I like this because I remember one time I rented from an older lady, and I think she was just a nervous Nelly to begin with anyway. But I mean, she showed up every day. And it's not like we were a young group of girls. Like two of us had our mothers there. So, I mean, we looked like a responsible bunch of folks, but I think she was just really nervous about her property. And I had told her, I was really, really excited about it because it was like upstate New York. I was living in the city and I was like, I'd love to be able to rent from you every year. And she was like, yeah. She's like, well, it always depends on the dates. She's like, because we're going to always be rented through like Airbnb. Like she just didn't want to like do a direct booking with me. And it was just a very nervous, energy. And she lost my business because I eventually found another house that I rented the following summer that was willing to do that, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, what advice would you give to kind of educate somebody to jump ship? And maybe it's not fully jumping ship because you're like, you can stay on Airbnb and VRBO for the time being, but then you'll understand the fruits of our labor as you jump onto our platform.
I mean, I can't say that we are for everyone, because the Airbnb and the VRBO model fits certain individuals. But if you're someone you're already putting in the work by listing your property, by making sure your property stands out, just take the extra step and save some money, and also be seen somewhere else.
Yeah.
Have another option for yourself, another avenue to be seen.
Yeah. Another option that's actually going to give you more money in your pocket too.
So
yeah, they don't have to get off those other platforms they don't feel comfortable. Like, test this out,
Yeah.
see. And the thing with their guests, they can vet their guests. I don't know how well they get to do that, especially I know with like the instant book. For some people, like you book and you don't really know much about the guest.
Yeah.
But you can still vet your guests. So when you receive that booking request, it says, hey, you got somebody who wants to rent your property. Ask them questions. You don't have to give them an answer right then and there. Like, okay, here's everything. Ask them questions. What are you coming in town for? Have you been here before? Vet them so that you feel comfortable with who is in your house.
Yeah.
I say this for the ones who are just starting out. Think about it this way. You're going to be at the bottom of those search results on Airbnb. No one's going to know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? That takes time.
Yeah.
At least with us.
And do they advertise that? Like, is that something that like Airbnb tells you, like when you join, you're going to be at the bottom of the totem pole, basically?
I think they, from the reading I've done, I think they kind of give you a little discount for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I remember reading. But that's only for so long. And then, you go back to the full fees. And then for someone who's a veteran, a pro at this, like you've been doing it so long, you have that intuition, who your pain in the butts guests are going to be.
Yep.
Those red flags start to show up because you've been there.
You've been there, done that.
So
yeah. So interesting. Are there any plans, and you don't have to spill all the beans in the secret sauce now, but to grow outside of, the efforts of just, booking? I mean, I'm not talking about like the splash of like what Airbnb did in terms of offering services, but basically just, what are some of the big plans, I guess, for Direct
like
BookMe outside of
planning?
Mm-hmm.
We have all sorts of
some ideas.
a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
So we
don't need to talk about all the fun stuff because we want to leave it a secret. Yeah, exactly. Join and you will find out.
We want it to be, though, a place where a host can go and they have everything they need.
Yeah.
Whether they connect with other hosts. Obviously, their guests they can connect with, service industry providers. We want to be able to offer everything that they need. They can go. It's just a one-stop shop kind of a thing for the host, to be able to just everything that they need to run their business can be found on the website.
Yeah, there's enough resources and in this day and age, enough information where we can all collaborate together.
Yep.
And make this community, to the moon, as they say.
Yes.
So.
No, I love that. This has been really insightful, guys. And I think that, what you guys are building specifically from the community standpoint, it's basically like born out of the community and supporting, the pain points it's really supporting the pain points. I mean, as marketers, we always say, look to understand the pain points of who you're offering and who your ideal customer profile. Continue to listen. And you guys are already doing that like out the gate from the get-go, which is like super impressive. But before I let you go, we do a fun thing where we do fireside wrap up. And so I'm just going to throw some questions at you. Whatever comes to your mind, just go ahead and answer those.
Like a lightning round?
Like a lightning round, exactly. What's one thing you both wish every host in the world understood about the power of direct booking?
Simplicity.
And keeping your money in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's the single most selling message. What would your younger self say if they could see the journey you've built with Direct BookMe today?
Oh
start
my
earlier.
God!
Which I would do, like, hey, start doing this now.
The whole retrospect of why didn't you start this earlier?
I know. Like, if you didn't know, you don't know what you don't know, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. What's the bigger impact you hope Direct BookMe leaves behind just bookings?
Everybody can travel. We would just travel.
Yeah.
Make it affordable for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming from travelers, like we've been all over the world.
Yeah.
It's great. Go see the world.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, with that, everybody travel. And if you are a host listening to this, make sure to host your property on directbookme.co, not com. And that's direct, DIRECT, book, BOK, me. And we'll list it below, and we'll list all the other details so that you can learn more and connect with Carlos and Denayer. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the show. We love it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.